Alright, welcome back to part 3 of this topic. We're going to talk about explaining our social world a little bit and how we explain our social world. In particular, we're going to focus on attributions, okay? Attributions are powerful things. And attribution is sort of like an explanation for behavior, something like that. So attribution theory, the explanation, the attribution we give to a behavior can be the difference between murder and manslaughter, right? That's how it works. The same behavior can come out two radically different ways. So attribution theory looks at, in fact, I'll get into all of that on the next slide, but it says we use a variety of factors to create either in dispositional or situational attributions. A misattribution occurs when we mix these up. Okay, like many men assume that women are flattered by repeated requests for dates. Women see it as harassment. Okay, well, this is Harold Kelly's explanation for attributions. Okay, in other words, will we attribute these things to internal or external sources, right? Situational or dispositional. And in fact, I like this example as it's is laid out here. So I've got a student falling asleep in my class, okay? And so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to look for consensus. All right, you know what? If a lot of people are falling asleep in my class, then it's probably me. But if there's only one or maybe two people falling asleep in the class, it's probably them. So I look for consensus. Is this a behavior that everybody exhibits or just this guy? I look for consistency. He's fallen asleep in previous classes. In other words, this is not a one-off. This is something that happens over and over and over. Is it distinct? He falls asleep in all other psychology classes, not just mine. Okay? And most common attribution would be this student is lazy. And in internal dispositional attribution. Gotcha? Because nobody else is falling asleep. The guy does it over and over and over and does it in different contexts. Okay? So how about a second situation? Many students fall asleep in my class. This guy has fallen asleep in lots of my other classes. And this one's sort of in the middle somewhere. But anyway, I come to the conclusion I'm a boring professor. All right? Nobody else falls asleep. This is the only time this guy's done it. He doesn't do it in other classes. It must have been a one-off, and it's his situation. And so, depending upon whether we make dispositional situational attributions, makes radical influences on our perceptions of that. And so, as I had already said, if you give a dispositional attribution to murder, he murdered because he's an evil son of a bitch, or a situational, this person committed manslaughter or was self-defense or something like that because it's the situation they're in. So clearly self-defense and murder are way different stuff. What is this one? Oh, evaluations of a guest speaker. When they were told beforehand the guest speaker was going to be warm or cold, look at the responses to the guest speaker. It's the same speaker giving the same speech. And so clearly these expectations that people had, clearly the attribution they then made for everything else. It was pretty powerful. Okay. The fundamental attribution error is the problem that observers are often going to make dispositional attributions for behaviors. The simplest example, a student comes in late into my class, I look at him and all I see is a student walking in late. That's it. I'm like, what a lazy kid, right? I don't know the situation that person is in. How would I know that situation? And so the fundamental attribution error is fundamental. There's a reason it's called that. But the fundamental attribution error tends to decrease in frequency the more we know somebody. In other words, the more about their situation we understand. One of my favorite examples is this one. You know, you drive into the gas station, and there was a car in front there. You know, there was a car in that other pump up ahead of you. You couldn't pull through. But all of a sudden, they leave, and you're sitting here filling your car in this situation looking like an asshole, right? Because nobody knows that when you came up, you could not pull through. I come up on this and say, why doesn't this idiot pull through? Come on, so that everybody can use the gas station. And it's 100% situational, and yet we view the situation and see it as 100% dispositional. Okay? Yeah, no, that was an interesting study, but you could read that. It was a Jeopardy-like game, and who believed what. And so I sort of hinted at this, but we see ourselves and we see others from much different perspectives. In a really interesting study, they videotaped a confession to a crime, and they taped it from two different directions. One from the direction of the detective seeing the person being questioned, and one from the direction of the person being questioned to the detectives. And it was pretty straightforward. Though from the detective's perspective, it felt real, it felt like dispositional, and from the suspect's perspective, it looked fake and coerced. Okay, so it's a pretty powerful thing that you can simply flip the cameras around and get a different perspective, and the attribution decreases. Okay, and so as we said, look at this. There's negative behavior. A man is rude to his colleague. And so if you do in fact give a dispositional attribution, you say this is a hostile person, I don't like this man, and then guess what's going to happen? You're going to treat this guy negatively in return. Okay? If, however, a guy is rude to his colleague, and you do in fact come across a situational attribution, you can say, you know what, this guy, there was this problem, this situation occurred, I'm sympathetic to them. Okay? And so we will treat them differently as a result of these different attributions that we make. In a classic, wait a minute, where am I? Oh, here's, because I got the wrong slide. There it is. Yeah, this is a really good study. Rosenthal and Jacobson. Grade school teachers during the summer were told, this summer these students, this 20% of the students in your class, they were given tests and they are ready to bloom in this next academic year, okay? And during the course of the school year, yeah, they did bloom, they did. But the 20% that were on that list were just picked randomly, just randomly chosen children. And so what happens is maybe the teachers gave those children more reinforcements. Maybe when those 20% started to get off on the wrong track and go in the wrong direction, the teachers were quicker to put them back on track. You know, who knows what they did, but clearly they treated them differently in some way. And so this is a pretty powerful idea, and in fact, my wife is hip to this one. And so every year at the beginning of the school year, she insists that I, in some way or another, send an email to the kids' teachers from my work email where it says doctor on it, okay? And almost inevitably, and it's true, that these teachers respond back to me, you know, really fast. I guarantee you they don't respond like that to others. And respond really fast and really polite, and absolutely they are really hip to call me Dr. Brown. I mean, they're quick to do it. Do they treat my daughter differently as a result? I don't know. I mean, maybe they do, but maybe it works, okay? I guess it can't hurt, right? I mean, we need every help we can for our children, okay? And so these self-fulfilling prophecies can be good, right? Look, the teacher expects, oh, look at this one. Rena's older brother was brilliant. I'll bet you she is too. Okay. So they behave differently. They smile more. They teach her more. They call on her more. They give her more time. Rena responds enthusiastically, and that confirms the teacher's expectations. Okay? And so that's fundamentally how self-fulfilling prophecies work. The behavior, the expectation changes the behavior, which comes back and confirms the expectation. It's an interesting thing, but we'll also return to this in the clinical component when we talk about diagnoses and how they are self-fulfilling prophecies often. It's just a different version of view of it. Okay. The self-fulfilling prophecy in science. Okay. So in science, we also are subject to this stuff. And so in one they did two studies I want to briefly mention. These are good experimental studies, but they're definitely related. In one study, this was back in the good old days when students that would take a learning class would have to have a laboratory component to the learning class where you teach rats to run mazes and stuff, right? And so what happens is at the beginning of the semester, everyone's assigned a rat, and half of the students are assigned a rat that comes from a maize bright. They're calling them the smart rats and the dumb rats, okay? And they've been genetically bred, and we bought them from the breeder this way, and so this is what you got to work with. And then at the end of the semester, it turned out that the smart rats were much better at solving the mazes, scored higher, no matter what your dependent variable was. The smart rats just dominated. The fact is, they were the same rats. Okay, they were just randomly selected and randomly handed out. And so what happened was that the students, most likely, they spent more time. You know, if you think you have a smart rat, you're going to give it a name and you're going to pet it and you're going to bring treats to it, okay? But if you think you have a dumb rat, then it's just a requirement for class and you're just like, oh crap, get back in there, rat, you know? It's just an amazing differences. Or in a really simple one, what they did was they videotaped an aquarium, and this aquarium is sitting in the middle of a room, and there's a black line across the middle of it so that you have a top half of the aquarium and a bottom half, okay? There's a fish swimming around, and in this video a woman walks in and sprinkles something into the water and walks off, okay? So they bring in participants, people, and they say, look, here's the thing. We're doing this study for chemistry class, or biology class maybe, and we just have so much data. We just need help to code all of our data. It's just so much. So we've got these videos, and what we want you to do is watch the video and simply record the behavior of the fish. So in this video, you're going to see a woman walk in and sprinkle something into the water, and the chemical she's dropping in is designed to make the fish swim at the top of the aquarium. So now I want you to just record how much time the fish spends at the top and the fish spends at the bottom. And so lo and behold, what do you think happens? I just told you the chemical is designed to make the fish swim on the top, and lo and behold, as you're watching this, you see the fish on the top far more often. If I do the same thing, by the way, this is who's interrupting us all the time. By the way, if I say the same thing, but I say the chemical is designed to make the fish swim on the bottom of the aquarium, you see, bottom of the aquarium. I mean, it's pretty easy. And it simply comes from, if you expect to find something, you will search for things to make it true. So all of those times when the fish, say for example, is, you know, swimming right about on that black line, midway between it, well, if you think the fish is on top, then guess what? When it's in the middle, it's on top, right? It's pretty easy how we could easily code those behaviors. Here's one where they took males and females and then they paired them up for telephone conversation. And what they did, though, was males were shown pictures of either an attractive or an unattractive female. The females didn't know anything about this, okay? And so then what happened was, after the conversations, the males completed a questionnaire about the woman they talked to. And so what happened was, after the conversation, the males, in fact, oh, she just had these, she was not pleasant, she was, you know, depending on whether it was an attractive or an unattractive picture. But what's crazy is that other people were asked to rate the conversations that had no idea about the photograph part. And lo and behold, if they had been shown an unattractive photo, later on, the blind raters said, this is an unattractive person. Because somehow the males talked to them differently, heard them differently, responded to them differently, and the females, in turn, responded to that. Okay? So it was the confirmation of the behaviors. Non-verbal, what is this? Yeah, all right, no, go back there. Okay, so that's what we got for topic 4, and we're just looking at one more topic before we round up onto that first exam, all right? So maybe I'll get her done today, and maybe I won't, right? But of course, you won't be seeing this for another handful of months, right? So, see you when I see you, buddies.